I just want to touch on the subject of knife attacks. Now, a lot of people seem to sort of or should I say, get mixed up with knife attacks and knife threats. Now, knife threats is usually committed in order to make you comply. So they're using the weapon as a tool to sort of intimidate you, basically. Now, there are instances of stabbing while somebody's making a knife threat, but it's sort of few and far between. Now, real knife threats are completely different. Now, we all seem to turn to or look at so-called experts in the field of self-defense, combatives, self-protection, martial arts, or whatever it is. But unfortunately, there's a lot of dishonesty out there, a lot of assumptions, a lot of false hopes, and a lot of lies in terms of what real knife attacks entail. So really, we need to look at how, before we start looking in how to protect ourselves, we really need to look at how a person is going to use a knife in order to carry out that attack. So the first thing is, most knife attacks you're not going to see coming. If you've never experienced a knife attack, you've never seen it, then I would say that a good port of call is to start looking at YouTube or Vimeo. There are some real life knife attacks there. Don't look on any martial arts sites. Look at real knife attacks. If you just type in real knife attacks or real stabbings, you'll see. Now, that'll give you now some background in terms of knowing how these things work. 9 times out of 10, a sort of street stabbing occurs when an attacker uses their lead hand to either grab, to strike, or to push. Now, the first thing really, or the main thing that they do, is to grab you. Now, that's what that is doing, is to maintain that distance. So what they're doing is they're pushing you away while still maintaining that distance and stabbing you. Now, these stabbings usually occur anything between 3 feet to 0 feet. So the chances of you ever seeing a knife coming is going to be very, very little chance of seeing it coming, and your chances of defending against it are even lower than that. Now, usually these knife attacks are done through some sort of concealment, or the attacker might even divert your attention away from using deceptive tactics unbeknown to them. But what they do is they may sort of gaze over your shoulder, or just keep averting their eyes left and right, or they may look over each one of your shoulders. Now, usually that is to either look for accomplices or to look to make sure they've got no witnesses before they carry out the attack. Now, real attacks also not only occur at that short distance, so you're not going to see it coming, but they also are very, very short stabs, extremely fast. So you've got the speed to deal with now. So do you really think that you're going to be able to grab an arm, so you've not seen it coming, that's really short distance, and now you've got the speed of it. Now, add on to the speed of it, you've now got varying angles. So they won't just stab you just repeatedly like you see in martial arts and a lot of self-defense systems, where a person playing the attacker steps forward, thrusts the knife forward, the person playing the defender grabs the arm or misdirects the arm, does technique A or B, and it's a success. End of. They don't use any sort of resistance. They don't use any sort of pressure. They don't use any verbal communication whatsoever. So it just does not resemble real life. So going back to this now, we've got the speed and we've got angles. So we've got left, right, up, down, sideways. So we've got to deal with that on top of that. Now on top of that, you've got the chance of them using a different grip. So they may use just a traditional handheld grip to stab you, or they might change their grip to use sort of a hammer fist, or what's known as an ice pick grip, to strike you. So you've now got variations in angles, and now you've got variations in grips. Now on top of that, again, you've now got the chance that they're going to change hands. So if they've got their left hand, they're going to be stabbing you with the right hand, and it's going to be close to them. It's going to be you're not going to see it coming. It's going to be coming in forwards, sideways, backwards, angles, whatever. Well, not backwards, but you know what I mean. Different angles. You've got the change of grips, you've got the change of hands. So if you do manage to deflect or grab an arm, all they're going to do is naturally just change hands. So they're grabbing you with the left, stabbing you with the right. They swap hands, so they're now stabbing you with the left and grabbing you with the right. Now, when you speak to a lot of people who work in accident and emergency, they usually tend to tell you that a lot of people who come in with stab wounds, the stab wounds are situated sort of to their left, to the left side. Now that's because obviously a lot of people are right-handed, so where they're stabbing, it's going to be around the chest height where the heart is, or up to the neck to where the carotid is. Obviously there are stab wounds from the waist upwards from there, but it's usually 80%, it's usually around the chest height. So going back again, let's run over it again. You've got the person using the lead hand and they're pushing you backwards. Your balance is going to be compromised. The chances are you're going to be stumbling backwards. The person is going to be stabbing you. You're not going to see the knife coming. It's going to be repeated at different angles, varying angles. The grip is going to be changed from normal to ice pick. They're going to be swapping hands, and it's going to be extremely close. You're not going to see that knife coming, and it's usually concealed, so you're not going to know until it's all over. A lot of people who have survived these type of attacks always say that they just felt that they'd been punched. They didn't realise they'd been stabbed until it was over. Now, there's a thing that you should really practice if you're learning about knife attacks. Don't sort of fall into the trap of believing that what you're being taught is going to work, because I will guarantee 99.9% that whatever you're being taught by whoever you're being taught, it can be the highest, the most knowledgeable person in the industry of self-protection. If they're telling you that they can make you defend against the knife attack, they're talking absolute tosh. I guarantee it. If you think I'm talking different, if you think I'm talking rubbish, then I think you need to sort of listen to your ego, sit down, control your ego, look at the facts, and then you can come back to me, and then you can say what you want to say. In terms of sort of as well as slash wounds, you've got stab wounds, like puncture wounds, and you've got slash wounds. So there's a misconception where in a lot of films they sort of explain that in order to kill someone you've got to insert the blade fully in, a long blade. Now the reality is you only need 3 centimeters to pierce a rib cage. You only need 4 centimeters to pierce a heart muscle. Now let's say you get cut in the femoral artery, so your femoral artery has been severed. You're going to lose about 1/3 of your blood volume, your body's blood volume, in around 30 seconds to 1 minute. From 1 minute to about 2 minutes, you're going to fall into unconsciousness. Your blood flow is going to decrease. Your blood pressure is going to drop. You're going to fall into unconsciousness and you're going to die. You'll bleed out, okay? That's the reality of what could happen. With a puncture wound, you could have your lung could create a lung collapse, and that's where your air escapes from your lung between the lung and the chest cavity, also known as the pleural cavity. Also, it can be the opposite way. You can have air going into the wound. So in a lot of these first aid courses and these bleed control courses, they use things like a credit card. So I'll put the credit card over the wound, taped at the top. So what it works as like a one-way valve, so it lets air out but won't let air in, which is a really good thing. But so simple things as a small puncture wound, so they pierced your chest, your rib cage, with a 3 centimeter blade is enough to make collapse one of your lungs. 4 centimeters into your heart. If you get cut in one of your main arteries, remember you're going to lose a third of your blood volume, obviously, and depending on your build, obviously, and how fast your heart rate is, you're going to bleed faster, obviously. But as a general rule, you're going to lose about a third of your blood volume within 30 seconds to a minute. So you can see it's quite a scary thing. So do you really think you can defend yourself against a proper knife attack? Not a knife threat, a knife attack. Because you very, 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 very rare do people attack you with a knife at a distance with the knife on full view. It's usually done, they'll come up to you and use the blade within like 3 to 0 feet, and you're not going to see it coming either through using deception or through concealment. You're not going to see it coming. Okay, so whatever you learn, whatever sort of brilliant, fantastic techniques you learn, and how superb they look, and you'll see them. A lot of these systems out there, especially the Israeli systems, where they do these super knife defenses, and they look absolutely brilliant, and you think, bloody hell, that's definitely going to work. It won't. Trust me, it will not work. And it's like me saying to you, I will teach you how to defend yourself against a bullet. I can teach you how to defend yourself from a bullet which is out of a gun, but if somebody shoots at you, you will not defend yourself against a gun, a shot. You just won't. And the same as you won't with a knife. Why do you think that a knife is the most chosen weapon to kill somebody? It's easy for them to do it, and less witnesses also. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that you understand where I'm coming from. If you think you can defend it, once again, just sit down, analyze the information, analyze on what's needed or what is done to attack somebody with a knife, and look at all the techniques that you've learnt over the years, analyze them and do it full pelt. Use a rubber knife or use a marker pen, red marker pen, wear a white t-shirt, and come in full pelt. Don't run in at a distance. I mean, come close, okay, and just try and catch people out. What we're usually doing in training is one person will always come into training with a knife, rubber knife, always, or a marker pen. You won't know who it is, and it might be at the beginning, it might be halfway through, or it might be at the end, but you just do not expect it, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're stabbed. You didn't even see it coming. And that's obviously where awareness comes in, where it's observation. If you train it well enough, you should see the body language indicating that this is going to happen. But that's the only thing you can rely on, is your intuition and your awareness techniques and your awareness skills.